The U.S. State Department says its special representative for North Korea is set to hold talks with his counterpart in Pyongyang. The two will prepare for a second meeting between their leaders expected late this month. Stephen Biegun will travel from the south to meet Kim Hyok-chol on Wednesday. They're also expected to discuss how to advance the commitments of U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's first summit. They include the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, transforming U.S.-North Korea relations, and building a lasting peace. Biegun says Pyongyang should declare all its nuclear weapons, but he adds he's ready to discuss corresponding measures the North wants from the U.S. Trump says he'll announce where and when he'll meet Kim soon. The venue of the second summit is widely expected to take place in the Vietnamese city of Da Nang. And while Washington and Pyongyang prepare for that summit, the UN Security Council has renewed focus on existing sanctions against North Korea. The sanctions are aimed at the country's nuclear and missile programs and include significant restrictions on oil imports. But an expert panel report published last week shows the North is routinely violating them, calling their effectiveness into question.
We put the strongest sanctions on Korea. We must continue to stand together to prevent the brutal dictatorship from threatening the world with nuclear devastation.
In February 2018, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed what he called the largest ever sanctions against businesses and ships dealing with North Korea. But that hasn't stopped Pyongyang from conducting business as usual. These aerial photos show international waters in the East China Sea. A North Korean registered tanker is seen pulling alongside a large tanker registered in Singapore. The vessels are linked by a hose, suggesting that oil products are being transferred between them. The photos are just one piece of evidence released by the UN Security Council. Its latest report indicates that North Korea is exploiting loopholes in the sanctions. This photo was taken in the Gulf of Tonkin off Vietnam. It shows a vessel whose registry has been canceled, parked alongside a North Korean cargo ship. The report says the vessels are using Chinese messaging apps to communicate, but in radio transmissions, which can be easily intercepted, they call out fake ship registry numbers to cover their tracks. Katsuhisa Furukawa, a former member of the UN Security Council's expert panel on North Korea, warns that Pyongyang's ability to evade sanctions should not be underestimated.
The U.S. government is stepping up measures to intercept radio and email messages. The tactics North Korean ships use for smuggling and other operations are becoming increasingly radical, sophisticated, and modern.
The UN report suggests that another player is undermining the effectiveness of sanctions: U.S. ally South Korea. In September 2018, when the two Koreas set up a joint liaison office in Kaesong, the South shipped 338 tons of refined petroleum products to the North without telling the UN. Furukawa says the sanctions won't work unless they are properly enforced.
Criminal activities such as smuggling, money laundering, and cyber attacks are being carried out routinely. They must be stopped. If not, a U.S.-North Korea agreement will be difficult to maintain, no matter what form it takes.
With the second U.S.-North Korea summit approaching, the cat-and-mouse game on the high seas continues. But so far, the mouse appears to be winning.
Washington and Seoul have reached an agreement in principle on sharing the cost of maintaining American troops in South Korea. A U.S. State Department spokesperson made the announcement on Monday. While the details of the agreement were not disclosed, CNN is reporting Seoul will pay nearly $1 billion per year, up from about $800 million. The agreement had been up for review every 5 years, but this latest deal is reportedly valid for only 1 year. Talks started last March, but both sides failed to strike an agreement by the December deadline. The impasse was mainly over Washington's insistence Seoul bear a greater burden. There were concerns President Trump would withdraw the roughly 28,500 troops or use them as a bargaining chip in talks with North Korea. Now, the U.S. military's new commander in Japan has pledged to boost ties with Tokyo and quickly respond to any regional threats. Lieutenant General Kevin Schneider was speaking at a change of command ceremony. He said the increasingly difficult security situation in the Indo-Pacific means the U.S.-Japan alliance has never been more important than now.
Because of the clear threats to peace and security in this region, we must maintain the highest levels of readiness to respond at a moment's notice to any threat, to any crisis, to any humanitarian disaster. I look forward to serving.
Schneider commands over 50,000 troops stationed in Japan and works closely with the country's self-defense forces. He previously served as Chief of Staff of the Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii. Japan's defense ministry has canceled a port call of an SDF vessel in South Korea, citing soured relations. The ministry says it notified the South Korean side of the decision on Tuesday. Japan had planned to send the destroyer Izumo to the port of Busan in late April during joint exercises among Asian and Pacific nations scheduled in waters around South Korea to Singapore. Ministry officials maintain the current atmosphere is not conducive to promoting exchanges, but they say Japan will take part in the drills. Relations between Japan's self-defense forces and the South Korean military have been strained. Tokyo says a South Korean naval vessel directed fire control radar at a Japanese patrol plane in December over the Sea of Japan. Seoul has denied the claim. South Korea claims Japanese SDF aircraft conducted provocative flights against its ships and has demanded an apology. Tokyo denies the allegation. The Japanese Defense Ministry plans to refrain from exchanges with South Korea until relations